The holiday season is almost upon us, and ZIZ wants to help you reach more customers during this period of increased shopping. Advertising on ZIZ Radio, ZIZ Television, Big Wave, and on our online platforms can help you reach more customers this holiday season. Call our advertising sales department for a tailored advertising solution at 465-2621. This holiday season, let ZIZ connect you to our large audience of listeners and viewers. Your potential customers at ZIZ with ZIZ Radio, ZIZ Television, Big Wave, and our online platforms. We provide advertising solutions that work. Call us 465-2621 and get results.
Hold on, stop. Think about the drink before you take a drop. Read up on the label on the back. They say sign sugar, low and fat. But don't be fooled by that. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody, yeah.
This message is brought to you by Lake Health and Wellbeing.
In case you don't know us, you're just twisting the dial away and managed to bump into us. This is ZIZ Radio from out of St. Kitts.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of PowerTalk, brought to you by your number one utility provider, SKELEC. Well, as we may be aware, it's Pinktober, and I want to tell everyone to think pink this month. On behalf of SKELEC, I would like to wish everyone happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Don't forget to do your self-examinations, both male and female, because it is important to you and it is important to your family as well. This morning, I have with me Mr. Kevin Bennett, the Generation Manager. How are you, Mr. Bennett?
I'm doing quite fine. I'm happy to be here as well. I'm happy to be here, always.
Nice to have you. Mr. Bennett, tell us a little bit about yourself as the Generation Manager at SKELEC.
I'm the Generation Manager at SKELEC. It's a very challenging job. As you know, electricity is something which is very, very dynamic. Every day is a different problem, a different issue to deal with, which is, at the same time, it's something that you look forward to. Because when you go, there's always a challenge. There's always some problem to overcome. So it's something that people look forward to because, every day, your job is exciting. There's always something happening. There's always something to be done. So I think that's, what a lot of persons look forward to. It's basically just coming to work because, you're going to have an exciting day.
So every day is just a different challenge. It's not something that's going to be set.
No. You never know what to expect.
No problem. Well, Mr. Bennett, I want to thank you for being here. Everyone, my name is Janisha Hendrickson. I'm the Corporate Communications Officer at SKELEC. This morning, Mr. Bennett and I will be discussing the history of energy production in St. Kitts. As everyone is aware, SKELEC recently celebrated its 10th anniversary. However, before SKELEC, there was the Electricity Department, also known as SKED, or as everyone is aware, or as everyone normally call it, the Electric Lights Place. So, Mr. Bennett, can you tell us something about the Electricity Department back then?
Basically, to trace the history of the electricity department, you have to go way, 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 way back. In fact, we go back over like say 100 years ago, in 1923. Back then, there was a meeting of the Legislative Council, and there one of the items on the agenda was the purchase of the funds to allocate funds to like Bastille and the old government house. Now, the interesting thing is that that's in October, and the governor is supposed to arrive in St. Kitts in November for a cricket match. So somehow you get the impression that, instead of lighting Bastille, the emphasis might have been basically lighting the government house because you have these important persons coming. And even back then, there was great opposition to it because persons said, like, we don't want it. It's a waste of public funds. It's too expensive. It's too much money. Lighting of Bastille is, it's in Bastille back then, 1923. Bastille basically was in darkness. Old Road, there were basically 3 lamps. And I think back then they had those gas lamps. So Bastille had very little. Old Road had 3. Center Point had 10. And Deep Bay had 1. And back then they just assumed that, Deep Bay only had 1 and Bastille was in darkness because the funds which were required to light these areas were basically not present. And now you have a situation where you have the country in darkness, and the cricket match will be coming in November. You have the governor coming to the thing to witness the cricket match, and then there's this need, there's this vote for the money to light, Bastille and the old government house.
So did they eventually allocate the necessary funds?
Now, here's the interesting thing. They were supposed to vote on the money to light Bastille and the old government house. But at the same time, tenders already submitted to persons to do the work. The orders already sent off to New York to order necessary materials, etc., and so on and so forth. So it's just one of those interesting things, because you realize that even though there's a vote for a thing, things are already happening behind the scenes. And that was 1923, that was a very, very long time ago. And then, there's one person who basically said, like, I know it's a waste of funds, but you have to look at the issue of kerosene lamps. I don't know how many of our listeners have ever experienced kerosene lamps. Well, you're a bit young, so you wouldn't know anything about that.
I experienced it, Mr. Bennett.
Okay, all right. Now, one of the drawbacks of kerosene lamps, of course, is that when you wake up in the morning and you put your finger in your nose, all kind of black soot and everything come out. So back then, it's like the kerosene lamp, even though persons were aware that lighting can be expensive and it's an extravagant cost. Also, there's a benefit to be had with lighting in terms that, there's more illumination and you don't have the thing where you're breathing kerosene fumes for the whole night.
So do you think, seeing that they had kerosene lamps and a new experience were coming to them with having electricity, do you think they would weigh in on the cost if seeing that kerosene would be cheaper to have rather than having electricity per se?
I think it's just a case of that when you're in opposition, you oppose whatever is there.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
So, Mr. Bennett, can you tell us how electricity was produced back then?
Well, back then, basically, only the persons who had the necessary means, those would have portable generators, but, everybody else didn't have anything. It was only until 21st April 1928 when the service was inaugurated. And that's the power plant was actually located where we have the old administration building down on Central Street. That's the building right now with the roof which is off. And basically, we were just, 2 small generators. And, they started about basically just powering Bastille and the surrounding areas. And back then, because of all the soot and everything from the plant, still the same situation with like the kerosene lamp. All the persons within Prickle Pear Alley, they would wake up with all the black soot all over the place from the plant.
So Central Street has always been the home for the electrical company throughout the years?
Yes, it has been there for quite some time now. That's about 93 years ago. That's when this service first started. The official service basically started in Bastille.
So you mentioned that only certain persons were able to have electricity back then. Would that be persons only in the Bastille region, or was it different persons all around?
I guess with the persons who had the necessary means who could afford it.
So can you expound on some of the challenges they may have experienced in going towards having energy production back then?
Of course, there's always the first issue was, of course, the environment, because Prickly Alley, they call it Smut Alley, because all the fumes, all the soot from the generators, this would come and basically black up everybody's house in that area. I think that one of the environmental challenge was probably one of the first issues. But back then, as I say, with time, as times change, people also change. And then, slowly the demand for electricity started to grow. And then eventually that area, that plant was just too small. So they moved to the new location in 1951. That's where Nienbos Power Station is located right now. And persons who drive by, you can actually still see the original building there. There's a sign on the building, which shows that that's when it was built.
So when you're passing Generation Building, I realize they have like a generator outside. Was that one of the first generators outside?
No, I think it's probably like one of the second one. That's one of the, that generator, well, 2 of them, they were added in 1958. And those were the KSS-5. Basically a very, very small generator, but yeah, that's the only one that we have left. That's one of the oldest ones that we have left. So we have it on display, so at least the future generation can see what we did back then. Like I said, that was installed in 1958, and then it was only removed. Both of them were removed because we wanted to expand the plant. So we kept one of them. That's for the future generation, so persons can see what we used to generate with.
So additionally, you mentioned that as time went by, they eventually had the generation at Nienbos. So what were some of the generators they had over the years leading up to now?
In fact, well, they've actually had quite a number of generators. We had the KSS-5, we had the Merleys. I think the last 2 inches we commissioned were the Merleys Blackstone. Those were almost 50 years old. Yeah. There's a difference between back then, persons built things to last. It's just like a cell phone now. You buy a cell phone today, and in a few weeks, a few months, it mash up. You have to buy a new one. I don't know if it's deliberate. I don't know if it's the technology. I don't know. Same thing with washing machines, refrigerators, and so on. Persons, back then they had stuff that would last for generations. But, it's a totally different. This is something that's totally different, in a sense.
So, seeing that when electricity was first introduced to St. Kitts, it was a bit of a challenge, and it was, I guess, beat down.
Well, initially. Yeah, but then I also recall persons who saying that, for example, when Lodge was being lighted for the first time, the persons who they told me it was like carnival, because they were getting electricity, so everybody was basically excited
to have electricity.
Yes.
Well, we experience that up to today, because when electricity goes and it's restored, persons are really excited. It's like they was like going crazy that no electricity is there.
Well, right now we depend on technology for everything. And right now, because persons have told me they don't mind water. Water can go. They can go down in the sea and bathe, but they must have electricity. And then everything runs on electricity. Everything now runs on electricity. And like I said, I can understand. Like I said, whenever it's there, it's like an excitement. It's a comfort. It's a comfort, you can go and you turn on your switch and the lights is there. It's security. So I can understand the excitement, but back then, it was the first time persons were experiencing electricity, and for them, it was carnival.
I have you there, Mr. Bennett. So let us talk about the individuals that were a part of this process. Can you mention some of the persons that assisted in this process leading up to today, possibly?
Well, I can probably mention some of the past, some persons who, unfortunately we have lost over the years, who were a significant part of the development. You have Mr. Charles Harper-Gums, who basically was like he was a really integral part in terms of the distribution section. You had Mr. Oswald Maynard Bacchus. He was a mechanic at the power station, and then very, 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 very skillful. Because he was the one back then. Certain tools, he went and developed his own tools, fabricated tools that persons can use. Like I said, he was very, 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 very skillful. and also Mr. Edward Ryan Yankee, very, 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 very skilled mechanic. He was the one who was basically involved, self-taught, and he was very extremely skillful. So just those three the persons who have lost who made a very significant contribution in terms of the electricity system in St. Kitts.
Okay, well, we do miss them, and we would have been happy if they were here with us, but we just want to say that. Can you also expound on some more of the history of the energy production in St. Kitts? Because I know you went way back from in the 1920s. Can you come up a little bit forward, like when you first came to SKELEC, based on your experience, the growth and the different things you have seen evolved over the years?
Well, we do have to go back to one important thing. In 1951, the plant at Central Street was located to Needmos. Now, the interesting thing, back then, the sugar factory actually had its own generating plant. But just that they would only operate during the crop season when they had, when they were harvesting and making sugar, etc. And when they came there, the persons thought it would be good for the present power station to be able to connect to the sugar factory. But there was an issue. We have a unique situation, we call it a hybrid system, where we have American frequency, but British voltage.
Explain that one to me.
European voltage is the 220, but the frequency is 50 hertz. American frequency is 60 hertz, but the voltage is 110. So from back then, we had this hybrid system. And because the power station wanted to be able to connect to the sugar factory, now, how the sugar factory came up with that configuration, I really don't know. I really like somebody can explain that to me. How did they have a situation where you have British voltage, but American frequency? And you'd find that for consumers, sometimes a bit of a challenge because of the rating. You'd find that, certain products are only rated at 50 hertz, etc., etc. So it's always been a challenge, but it's something which started from way, way, way back then. We don't know how we got started in the sugar factory in the first place, but that's the situation that we're in right now. I think probably one of the other Caribbean countries has something similar, but yeah, it's a very unique situation where we have American frequency and British voltage.
That is very interesting to find out.
Yeah, and that's when it started from, because, like I said, they wanted to be able to connect. Unfortunately, the sugar factory is no longer there anymore, but we already have this system which has basically been a part of us and will continue to be a part of us for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you very much for that information, Mr. Bennett. So, seeing that you're the generation manager, and how many years have you been with SKELEC?
15 years.
15 years, so a decade plus you have been with SKELEC.
Yes.
Can you tell me some of the growth you have seen from your time at SKELEC?
Basically, over the years, St. Kitts has grown tremendously. Back then there were certain areas, not in terms, because we only look at in terms of the demand, but basically the areas like Bayfords, that feeder has basically expanded and grown tremendously. Sandy Point, Keon. There's a constant increase in demand almost every year. The only time where we didn't really experience a significant increase of demand was between 2012 2013. Was back then. That's when we have the introduction of solar panels. A lot of large businesses started introducing solar panels, so that was the only year that we didn't see any significant growth. But from all the years, every year there's always a consistent increase. So St. Kitts is basically growing very, very, very rapidly.
So you would say each year we're just increasing
every year
supply?
We're increasing. Yeah, every year we're increasing. The only time we didn't increase, of course, is because of the pandemic and the economic downturn, etc. That was the only years that we didn't think about. Every year, St. Kitts, the demand is been increasing every single year.
You mentioned that in the recent years, persons have been a part of green energy. Would you say over the years that's starting to develop, would you say that is more healthier to use for persons over the years? Seeing that you said we started with the kerosene lamps and then we started with the generation plant, and some areas will have the black smoke. Going into that era now, would it be healthier?
Definitely would be a lot better for the environment. Sinkers and Nevis as an island nation, we contribute very, very little in terms of the emissions, negligent. But the unfortunate thing is that Sinkers and Nevis are also the first to be impacted by climate change. And you've seen that you get more frequent storms, stronger hurricanes, drought, etc., etc. So even though our contribution to the total scheme is insignificant, we're the ones who will be impacted by it. And it's always important to try to push as much as possible the green energy initiatives. Like I said, we are doing our part, but unfortunately, we're not a big producer of the pollutants. But unfortunately, as the small island states, we're the ones who will be significantly impacted by it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bennett. You have taught me and the listeners a lot today, especially on the history aspect. As someone, I like history very much, and I like learning different things each day. It's very informative to me. So with that being said, do we have any callers as yet, GQ?
But if you let them know that the line is open.
Well, callers, the lines are open and we are ready to take your calls. So feel free to call and ask the necessary questions, or maybe give your experience at working at SKELEC. Good morning, caller.
Hello?
Good morning, caller.
Can't hear you. Good morning. Anyway, if you could hear me, the information that the gentleman they give out is very, very educational.
Mm-hmm.
And especially to people like you who are so young, you don't know nothing about lamp.
I do know a little bit, caller.
Do you know what the lampshade used to mark?
Pardon?
Do you know what the kerosene lampshade used to mark?
I'm not sure. I remember seeing my grandmother use her lamp when Cohen goes.
The lampshade always mark home, sweet home. And we couldn't do any better in those times. So we had to use what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So you find at night, it depends on how many children in the home, everybody bundle up around the one lamp doing the homework. And by the time, like the gentleman said in the morning, when you wake up, you push one your finger in your nose. And you could take your finger and write on a paper with that. From the suit. But in the days when we never had electricity, there was a refrigerator that worked from kerosene oil?
Yes, I know about it.
Okay then, yes, that's right. You're up to the age, but teach the little young lady this. And no one would want to have to go back to go in your house in the night to scratch a match to light the lamp to see where you're doing and whatnot. Because as soon as you open the door, you put your hand on the side of the wall, click. We advance to quick service lights. So the electricity, it is very important and it is well needed this time. And I don't know how many persons can adjust, not even GQ can adjust to how it used to be when we never had so much electricity. So congratulations to all the government that run the country and improve on our lighting system. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady, for listening.
Don't bet.
You shock me,
Don't bet.
Thank you very much for calling, customer, and I would like to thank you for your addition and telling us a bit more information, because I honestly did not know about the fridge. I only know about the lamp. Is there any more callers, GQ?
Yeah, you have 3.
Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Hello? Hello?
Good morning, caller.
I can't hear you.
Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
Oh my.
I can hear the radio. Let me turn up my radio then.
Good morning, caller. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Let me turn up my radio. Sorry. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, good morning to you guys here.
Morning.
JQ,
Yes, man. Good morning.
you learn a lot of history. You're still young. Let me, the gentleman there. There was a time when Smut Alley, the lower part of Westbourne, was called by the name. What was the reason for that?
Because they had 2 generators, and the exhaust from the generators. Basically, yes, that was the reason for it. The power
So you
plant
had all
was
the
right.
black thing down there.
Yes, because the power plant was located right there on Central Street, right next to
Yes,
Piccadilly
there was
Alley.
a small bike. Remember when something was running there? That's what they call along the Smut Alley.
Yes, that's the reason for it. It was the exhaust from the generators at the time.
Oh, okay. Well, JQ,
Yes, man.
you learned something.
Boy, thanks to you.
Okay, enjoy that.
All right, man.
Thank you for calling, caller. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Permit me a couple of minutes, please. I don't know if you recall when we had a freak storm and over the Enkeon, the sandbox tree in Upper Keon broke off.
You mean a freak storm?
Well, it was freak.
Yeah.
Because there was no wind. It was just an electrical storm. However, the lightning struck the tree because the tree is older than my grandmother.
Oh.
And water accumulates in the middle of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the lightning struck the tree. On account of that, it had a feedback going from the tree all the way back to Needmus. In my house, the meter outside was burnt up.
Mm-hmm.
Inside, my washing machine motor was burnt up. My surge protectors burnt up. Across the street, 2 meters were burnt up.
Mm-hmm.
I called your company. They came, they sent a man. He took a picture of all the burnt up meters and replaced them.
Mm-hmm.
However, I wrote a letter to the manager. And I got a response from him telling me that it was not his fault. But the neighbor next door, who had big lights burnt out and all that, they were replaced. And nothing was done for me. And then they replaced the meters and put on the meter, the multiplier, one 4.5 max and the other one 1.2 max. Why is that? It's because I'm just a little guy around, so you can just, hey, don't bother with that. Well, that's not nice. That's really, really not nice.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, customer. What I would advise you, if you can visit the customer service department at Central Street and you can air your views and they'll be sure to assist you. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to Miss SKELEC there and she team. Now my little concern this morning, I got to the update. I back in them lamp time and pump store and all them things time, So I know how the situation go.
Mm-hmm.
Because walking from my swamp to boys, trying to feed the pig, it was not easy task because my force like there was done and thing. We used to go torch crab. We used to all up the airport from boys to the West One. And we had the battle lamp and the can lamp and all those things. So, trying to better culture, all the government can get in to have do a good thing to upgrade our electricity and about power the situation in the federation. Almost the federation. Now, to me, I want to ask a question, Miss.
Sure.
No, I got a concern with those who got electricity in the house, in the business place. Because let me tell you something. No, I want to know if the electricity don't come around and check people. Because some people up for whole 3 years, 5 years here, some people in pay $25,000, $40,000, some people up. And you got people right now using their own generator on the electricity department up to $20-something thousand, $15,000 and all them things, and using their own generator now. So I would like to know how SKELEC will get back that money. Whether they're done already. And I'll say it again, some of them use the pandemic. They wasn't paying all them years. And because of the pandemic now, they stopped it altogether. And so the pandemic, they out of job. So I would like to give some update to all them people who are SKELEC and maybe using generator if they can pay it. Because we are got to pay for the service. All right then.
Thank you for calling, caller, and for hearing your views. Our customer service department usually deal with those affairs. So based on your concern, you can reach out to the customer service department. Good morning, caller.
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Morning. This is Dumpling.
Hi, Dumpling.
I born in West Wompot.
Mm-hmm.
By the ice plant. I enjoy the electric light department and the ice plant. Really, a morning time when we used to wake up, it's not only Smut Alley, it's all around the area in West Wompot. You wake up, it's got on that white curtain, you bet on black your parents and little every day watching. So I enjoy my ice plant, my electric lights department, especially at night time. When you see the horn blow, we have some water used to come out from the back. They had a big kind of drain there behind the ice plant. And it used to be hot, warm, like. I used to bathe.
Oh.
Beard man fighting to go in, especially if we play TV and we reach. And as we hear the last blow, we wash off the skin. We fought and we run in the yard because we nearby.
Mm-hmm.
So in my ice plant, and sorry, you all never put like a big picture frame there while you're building.
Mm-hmm.
How the ice plant was. You understand? Mm-hmm. I should have known that they're going to break down the ice plant that's actually morning. So me to go and take a picture. I am 65 years old and I come and I make my ice plant there in West Wompot. Every time I come down the road, and I say, wow, the ice plant gone. The only thing I just see there is the old place over there by Tukapia Alley.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, caller, and for telling us your past experiences growing up with the ice plant and with the electricity department. And I also want to thank you, Dumpling, for your contribution to the electricity department, because as I can recall, you are a past worker. So thank you very much for your contribution. Also, I would like to thank all our past stakeholders and persons that helped the electricity department to evolve and to become even greater than we are today, and helping us to reach where we are right now. And thank you for helping us to evolve and have the birth of SKELEC. Because seeing that they contributed so significantly, we have shorter response to emergencies, lesser outages, we have higher customer service responses, and we also have a higher production of electricity, and we are able to supply everyone with electricity. So thank you very much. Remember, it's Pinktober, and to think pink. Have a good day.